Hi, welcome to the Perception Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Casey Zellers, and today we are hopefully going to change your perception on things that you thought you already knew.
It ended up being a scam hustle that we were doing on the street in May of 2006, the 13th, when I accepted Christ. I was in the middle of scamming someone and walked away from the whole thing and told the guy it was a scam. Never mind, he didn't want to buy him. Just kind of walked away from that, got in the truck, drove away. If the owner doesn't win, meaning the company, if the customer doesn't win, and if the employee doesn't win, all three have to win, then it's not really service. This is what she said. She said, last night, praying that God would send someone in my life I could finally trust. She's like, I think he sent you. Which was such a contrast because at the beginning of the call, she was like, hey, you're just like the rest of them. You're going to try and rip me off. But it was going to change her perception.
Can you sell me this pen?
Here we go.
Hi, welcome to the Perception Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Casey Zellers, and today we are hopefully going to change your perception on things that you thought you already knew. And in the studio with me is Chris Fresh, the plumbing sales coach. And today we're going to talk about sales. So I'm glad to have you in the studio.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah. We go back a ways.
We do.
We do. You were would you say you were one of the youth group leaders or a youth group chaperone, would you say?
No, I was a youth group leader for, let me think. There was a couple runs there, and I'm trying to think. When you were in youth group, I was a leader. I think that was when Adam was in there. Were you in there with Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was a youth group leader.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, dude.
There's a Chip 2 story in there somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's still nice and
Yeah.
nice and shiny. It really is.
I think you were when I first met you, you had to have been in second grade or third grade, but I think when you came into youth group, you were like seventh, eighth grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Yeah. So we've known each other for
And I've had your
quite a
brother as
time.
well. I had your older brother.
Yeah.
In youth group, two very different people.
Yep, we are. And no, it's crazy that a lot of people will still like talk about me and my brother back in the day and be like, "Oh, you guys look so similar, but you guys are like totally different people." It's
You
like,
are.
yeah, we are. We know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's night and day. Yeah, you do look a lot alike though. And it was interesting because you didn't back then. I mean, you're very
Really?
Yeah, I mean you got a lot bigger. And he was already bigger.
Like bigger?
Yeah, just in general.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. So there was some catching up, but yeah, you guys look very similar now.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Flood of memories.
Oh man, it's good times. It was.
It's I can tell you with the gray hair for people watching and they can see the gray hair on my head. There's always a lot more memories that come when you're older, I think.
Yeah.
When you have these moments, yeah, for sure. I can
Really?
remember being your age and seeing someone again that was older than me and just now having that experience. It's definitely deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, it's funny you say that. I actually found my first gray hair 2 days ago, actually.
Yeah, funny.
My first gray hair. I was scared, dude.
I lost
I was
my
like, it's too soon.
I think I lost my last non-gray hair 2 days ago. We're not even gray anymore. I think I'm going to a whole new shade of white or something.
Silver
fox,
platinum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Platinum.
Yeah.
I'm platinum dip. Nice.
So I want to get into, like I said, sales today. And you having worked in sales your whole career, I guess, or how did you really kind of first get into it?
Yeah, well, I mean, technically, I've been in sales my whole life, just from the simple fact that as a business owner, you have to sell your business, sell your product.
Right.
But professionally in sales, probably half of my career, the other half is owning a business of some sort.
Okay, gotcha.
How'd I get into it?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's an interesting story. Actually, it's interesting. That's how we met in a weird way, because before I was a Christian, I was young. I was waiting tables, and someone asked me if I'd ever thought about selling speakers, and I thought, I like speakers. I like music, so I was like, yeah, I could probably sell some speakers. But it ended up being a scam hustle that we were doing on the streets, and I did that for
like
3
a
or 4 years.
pyramid scheme going on here.
No, I think pyramid scheme would have been better than this. This was way worse. I think legally speaking, I might be out of the
You're
jurisdiction.
probably out of the jurisdiction. So yeah,
but
you can probably talk about
it was a lot of street hustle, a lot of street cash, and just making a product better than it really was. It was a whole thing. It was a whole hustle. Speakers were being made in China. They were being shipped over to American companies.
Okay.
They were being sold to us for $60, $80 a set, and then we would take them on the street, say we got them extra on our job, got them free,
Yeah.
and then we would sell them for hundreds of dollars or more. And I turned that into a business and had guys working for me, and we were doing that for a while. So that's how I got into. That's how I truly got into sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, I
Wow.
was a construction worker. I
Okay.
did construction. I did scaffold carpeting in the union. I got laid off because that's how it works in the union. I ended up waiting tables in
Yeah.
between jobs, and then bam, I'm in sales,
Yeah.
like hardcore.
Wow.
Yeah, boiling room without the room. It's like,
So you're doing street money. When did you actually, like, how did you kind of, I guess, get out of that? And
well,
eventually,
we started going to church where your family went. That's how
okay.
we met.
Oh, okay.
That was 2005. And we went there for about a year, and I kind of rejected the whole idea of Christianity, the whole idea of all that,
Really?
and kept doing what I was doing. A lot of the leadership there knew what I was doing. I think your parents may have even have been involved in some of those
Probably.
conversations,
Probably.
and after about a year of being there and rejecting, that's when things started to really change in my heart. And so there was a day in May of 2006, the 13th, when I accepted Christ. I was in the middle of scamming someone and walked away from the whole thing. Um,
Just like in the middle of the,
I mean, literally in the middle of the sale. Told
how'd
the
that,
guy,
how'd that go down?
well, this is even more interesting. It was in Spanish because I knew enough Spanish to
Okay.
communicate the scam. The guy that I was talking to was over on Georgetown and 56th Street. I don't
Okay.
know if you're familiar with that area
Yeah.
on the west side. There's that Burger King there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We were back behind that Burger King. I can't remember what there was back there, but there was some sort of department store. And I was back there, and I don't know if it was raining or I was crying, a little bit of both. But I remember there being some water on the ground, and because I was just kind of looking at the ground, and I just got hit with all this conviction. Never felt that conviction before, and told the guy it was a scam. Never mind, he didn't want to buy them. Walked away from that whole, just kind of walked away from that. Got in the truck, drove away, and
Wow.
there's a lot more to that, but that was the moment. And the day before that, I had it. Like I said, there was a lot of conversations. People thought maybe I should go get a job
Sure.
at a more traditional place,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
we were making a lot of money off the street,
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands. We were generating millions, but we were
Mm.
keeping hundreds of thousands. So the lifestyle was not something that I was going to be able to maintain if I went to a traditional job. So that was the dilemma. So
Mm.
I took this part-time job at CarMax to kind of appease everyone while I continued to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And in that moment when I accepted Christ, I walked away from the speaker sales and went into work for CarMax.
Yeah.
And that was all happening as we were going. So I actually became a youth group leader roughly, I'd say approximately a year after what we're talking about right now, this moment right here.
Hmm.
So the first time I was a youth group leader,
Yeah.
because I did it for about 4 or 5 years, and then I did it again, which is when you were in youth group.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So then I guess then kind of walk me through like your conversion then. Like how did that all really kind of play out?
Well,
Like
I went to work at CarMax full time instead of part time,
yeah.
and literally became the number one sales rep at that store, top 10% in the nation, and lost everything we owned because it still didn't matter. It still wasn't enough money to pay for the lifestyle we had created.
Yeah.
And but that's how I got into to like more of a Fortune 500 company and working for sales.
Sure.
And but that was the conversion. It was that moment in time where I had that realization, that I had that conviction,
Mm.
and everything changed. I mean, literally everything changed that in that moment, in that
Yeah.
day.
Did you say like did you go back to the church and just like tell everybody what happened?
Yeah, not exactly quite like that. First of all, I called a pastor on staff that was a friend of mine that had been
Yeah.
walking through this with me. He spent the last year with me,
Yeah.
kind of just living life with us. Stan, he was the one that kind of helped me realize what had just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and saw Steve. Steve was a manager at CarMax, but was also our small group leader.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it wasn't really a small group; it was a Sunday school class.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever reason, him and his wife were kind of like the leaders of that group somehow.
Sure.
But anyways, I called him, where I had gotten recommended to go get the job at CarMax. So I actually drove straight to CarMax from there.
Okay.
Saw him, asked him if full time was still available. He took me back to the HR department. They had already tried to get me to go full time the day before that when I was interviewing.
Yeah.
All this was all just happening so fast. And so then I said, yeah, let's do the full time. And then
Yeah.
from there, I probably, well, no, I had already been talking to my wife, but I think I went home. It was a pretty emotional day. It was pretty heavy. I
Yeah.
went
How
home.
was how was her reaction to kind of like everything that you were doing and
I
then
mean, yeah, it was what she'd been waiting for. It was what a lot of people have been waiting for.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting when you're on one side of that coin, you don't really see it that way, but then afterwards, you can kind of see who was really rooting for you, cheering for you, or
Hmm.
praying for you.
Yeah. And so did that really kind of affect your outlook on not just your marriage, but also just life as well? And
Well,
your
everything.
really
So,
okay.
yeah, well, I mean, every sales was so kind of go back. So I'm on the street basically at this point in time saying anything I can to get someone to want to buy the speakers. So
Right. Yeah.
there's no real value there.
Hmm.
There's no real solution there. And so there's really not even a problem there. I'm pulling up on
Hmm.
someone and putting them in a FOMO position, fear of missing out. I say, look, you got 30 seconds, dude, or I'm driving off, and you got a chance. They screwed up on my order. I got these speakers. You want them or not? And most of the position would be to not want them. And so as you're pulling them in, pulling them in. So
Hmm.
you're saying crazy things like, go get some money off your credit card to invest in these, and then you can sell them later on eBay and make money off of it. Well, clearly having that you can see where the conviction came in that day.
Hmm.
um you can't that's not the right way to go about sales. And it gave me this base foundation of kind of being like an anti, not to necessarily call anyone out, but like an anti closing objection style sales trainer. And
Okay.
so I go into sales and I start working with people, and now I'm at CarMax. People are coming in, they genuinely want a card. We're not talking them into nothing.
Hmm.
For those that remember back in the day, CarMax was a buying experience. It was different. They kind of no haggle pricing. They didn't negotiate.
Yeah.
You could buy the car and even return it. Like it was just it was the best buy of car sales. Like it was
Yeah.
just easy peasy corporate America.
Yeah.
And I did that for a couple years and really enjoyed that. But it was very transactional.
Hmm.
People wanting it. It was very first world problem. I
Yeah.
want a new car, and so that was cool. I did that. But then I went into collections, helping people. It wasn't collections. I was in a position where people were current with their payments, but they were kind of bad credit situations, and so our role was to educate them on how to get that fixed, how to get that right. I really liked that,
Hmm.
but it was a form of sales because you still had to basically get them to make their payments.
Yeah.
It was a unique way of looking at sales, so that was very
Gotcha.
relational.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that you start putting these things together with a different outlook, and all of a sudden I started to realize like sales is not a verb. We've turned it into a verb,
Sure.
selling, but it's really just a noun. It's a transaction.
Yeah.
It's someone needing a product or service and someone providing that product or service, and hopefully an expert.
Hmm.
And that's when I fell in love with this idea of what sales could be. And it's like, man, and then you start wrapping in unique, different things. Like we have functionality sales where people buy food, got
Yeah.
to eat.
Yeah.
Well, you can go to Best Buy or Burger King, you can go to McDonald's, you can go to all these different places, or you can go to a fine dining restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to spend a lot more money, but you're paying for the experience.
Hmm.
So there's so much more to it than just this idea of getting someone to buy something or getting someone to spend money. And
Gotcha.
that's what changed. That's ultimately what triggered everything from there.
Gotcha. Was there a part of you that was like, man, I kind of want to go back because I was making more money with the street cash, or?
No, the way I'm wired is just to try to climb whatever ladder I'm on.
Mm.
So that was the ladder I was on. So that was the ladder I'm trying to climb. And
Yeah.
so I worked for a few companies, ended up at Angie's List, made a lot of money there.
Yeah.
That was a really good paying job.
Yeah.
And then when they went public, they changed the compensation plan, and I was reminded that I wasn't really wired to work for people. I don't like things changing on me out
Sure.
of nowhere. And so I started a house cleaning company and started back on that entrepreneurial track. So taking
Yeah.
sales back into entrepreneurship and growing that way. And then we
Gotcha.
grew the house cleaning company, sold it, and then I started consulting and then ended up in plumbing.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to the story, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you then? I mean, because you kind of touched on it a little bit. You don't really like to work for other people. You kind of have that mindset of like, I need to be my own boss. So how did you um essentially just like, all right, this is what I know I want to do, and I'm gonna make a business off of it, and I'm gonna work for it.
Yeah, I don't know that it was that thought out. I think it was more of what's the opportunities in front of me.
Mm.
And I had already mapped out a business plan for a cleaning company, and so I just implemented that.
Okay.
And then later on, when I was consulting, some people were asking me for help. I didn't put out this business saying I'm a consultant.
Yeah.
When I sold my business, people would just come to me and ask for help, namely at the church.
Okay.
Um, when that happened, it led me to a plumbing company, and I fell in love with that because literally turned the plumbing company down. Said I don't know anything about plumbing. I was in construction, but I'm not really a plumber.
Yeah.
had a plumbing problem the very next day in my own home, had a bad experience, fell in love with that, and thought, man, we now here's something kind of, you think back to the story I was telling earlier,
Yeah.
we were selling cars at one point and ads for, businesses and Angie's List cars at CarMax.
Yeah.
Those are kind of non-problematic style sales, meaning a lot of times people are upgrading or adding. It's not always someone's car's not broke down on the side of the freeway. Now you're driving a car out to them and solving their problem.
Mm.
They're coming in and buying a car because they want a car.
Right.
Um, in this case, people wake up and they don't have any plans or desires to work on their plumbing or spend money on plumbing,
Mm-hmm.
but their plumbing happens to them. I just really fell in love with that. I felt like it was an opportunity to redeem a situation for people.
Sure.
And considering my past, I was like, man, I kind of felt like I owe the community, the world, a redemption. And that
Yeah.
was just a great way to do it. Cleaning houses when I owned that company,
Yeah.
first world, again, another first world problem, right? Just this idea of dirt in the home and removing it. It's
Yeah.
it's a lazy luxury purchase.
Yeah.
And in this case, this is legitimately something that something they can do. They need water. They can't have mold in their home. They can't have it just destroying the home.
Right.
And this just, I felt like, was more honorable, and I really fell in love with that.
Yeah.
And so everything then stems from that concept.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So at what point then are you, I guess, kind of sitting back and reflecting and really just kind of being like, yeah, this is the path that God wants me to go down. God wants me to be a problem solver and help people fix their problems.
Well, so for me,
Yeah.
the pattern has always been everything that I thought would work, everything I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
everything I've created has never worked. And then all the things that I land in
Yeah.
are the things that do work.
Yeah.
The way I ended up in the plumbing was I said no, then my plumbing failed.
Yeah.
Fell in love with it. So I worked with this plumbing company for 3 years, helped them become sellable.
Yeah.
I leave plumbing. I work with some local people that I had relationships with because of the previous plumbing business. So
Yeah.
then, like restoration, insurance, they're asking me for help problem solving different things. So we're
Yeah.
doing that for like a year. The new owner of the plumbing company asked me to come back, says, hey, come back and help me run this thing. So we do that for 4 years.
Yeah.
The old plumbing owner asked me to come on to a talk show. So I did that. I didn't want to. I
Yeah.
was like, oh man, no one's going to want, why you want me to put me on, don't put me on the internet. And I did that, was their episode 2. And I think their episode 16, well, episode 16 was, as you guys would say, went viral or just got real popular.
Sure.
And
Sure.
then that had all these people then sending me messages like, hey, what products do you have? I was like, I don't.
Yeah.
So then I took one of his companies and ran them through a free like 5-day training course.
Uh-huh.
Cause I was like, I know what to do in the home, but I don't know how to train it online to other companies. Like I wasn't not a coach or a trainer. So I did that and they loved it. And then everybody wanted to buy that. So then
Mhm.
that revenue and consumption of time became greater than what I could focus on full time with what I was doing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I transitioned to what we now know as the plumbing sales coach online. And
Yeah.
it's been a wild journey. It's been crazy. And just for example, this year I'll speak here in October. I'll speak at One Tom Plumbers national conference.
Okay.
That's one of the larger franchises in the U.S. We have a chunk of Roto-Rooter as a client.
Okay.
Could have never have dreamt that
Yeah.
8 years
Roto-Rooter is
ago.
pretty big.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
8 years ago we didn't have. I 9 years ago, the idea that I would be the plumbing sales coach,
Yeah.
never would have dreamt that I would be online coaching or doing anything online. And then you go back 15 years ago, I would have never imagined I was going to be in plumbing. So you ask me, how did I know that this was what God called me to do?
Yeah.
Because I feel a lot of times in life I'm like Jonah running, and
Mm.
and so these are the things that I've been drugged back into, and they have always been the most successful things in my life. The things I was even though the speaker thing was a negative
Yeah.
in the sense of that I was successful at it financially and on earth.
Sure.
And even if you look at that, I was drug into that where I was waiting tables.
Yeah.
I wasn't even looking for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Everything I find doesn't work.
yeah. It's crazy how that kind of happens, you know.
Yeah.
You've also and I mean this might be a bit subjective, but I think it's objective that you're a pretty humorous fella. Yeah.
When you're 5'6", I wasn't 5'6" in kindergarten either. I've always been proportionally smaller than every human on earth. I did get picked on a lot in school,
Yeah.
and I had to get real quick at deflecting. So, look, PE was a classic class for me. The whole goal of PE was to watch someone else screw up and then remind everyone as soon as we went in the locker room, just to get the attention on them for a minute, and then
Yeah.
I could get out of there.
Yeah.
But nah, bullying's real, folks. Bullying's real.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, ha- have you always kind of been drawn towards comedy a little bit, or?
I mean, I definitely enjoy it. I
Yeah.
think I admire it. I think just to give you an example, you could go to a concert. I think musicians can go to a concert and really appreciate the entirety of what's going on, the music, the bass, the drums, the
Yeah.
different times the piano plays doesn't play. I don't know enough to even give some examples here, but you get the idea, right? Or
Yeah.
someone in video can really appreciate the lighting or really appreciate different things
Hmm.
or audio, the sounds. For me, comedy, I really like the rhythms, and I just seen Nate Bargatze as an example. Dave Chappelle would be another
Hmm.
good example of this. But I saw Nate Bargatze live, and the rhythm he has when he
Yeah.
tells his jokes and wraps the story around, I felt like it's
Yeah.
very artistic,
Yeah.
and I'm naturally just drawn to that.
Yeah.
I see it, I just admire it. I think it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
talent. And so I've always been drawn to that. I've always been drawn to people who can make you laugh without taking cheap or cheat code kind of things where
Mm.
unnecessary vulgar language or
Yeah.
vulgar scenarios. Like, man, if you can just intelligently make me laugh,
Yeah.
that's when you hit a home run with me. And so yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm passionate about me being a comedian, but I am interested. I'm passionately interested in the art of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you had a video with your plumbing sales coach Instagram that kind of went viral.
We've had a few. So we've had a few go, some do the millions of views type
Yeah.
thing. We've had probably a good 15 or 20 do at least 500,000 views or 300,000 views.
Yeah.
And they're always the funny ones. And we do
Yeah.
funny things like make fun of Gen Z. So like we'll say, I'll act like I'm a Gen Z plumber
Yeah.
and I'll be talking, I'll be speaking all that hip stuff. I'll be dropping that drip. You know what I'm saying? I'm cooking. I don't know. I'm dropping it on them. But it's hilarious. We do that. I'll imitate maybe famous sales trainers that I don't agree with.
Sure.
I may poke at that a little bit. Those ones seem to do well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a lot of fun. We have some fun on there, and we have a podcast too. And it's
Yeah.
pretty serious. It's pretty much business and sales driven
Mm.
knowledge, but there is I sometimes can't help it, and so there'll be some moments in there I think that people will say, as they say, spit their water out kind of thing. But we get a little feedback on that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the oh gosh, I think you called it the dramatic plumber.
Yeah.
I think that
Oh,
was the
yeah,
one
that's the one. Yeah.
where it was like, yeah, I can go get the part for you and then I can be back a couple
Tomorrow or
days
next
from
week or
now. Yeah,
something.
like
Yeah.
something like that. It was just
She
so
says, "Can I
funny.
use this faucet?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. Well, not this faucet, but
Y-
maybe like a bathroom
Yeah,
faucet."
maybe like a bathroom vase. Yeah.
I think that's also the one where they're asking me to load the bags up downstairs. There's 3 bags, and
Yeah, and there's
there's
like
only
two
two
of
of
you.
us.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how are we gonna get all that?
Yeah.
Can you make 2 trips today?
Are those guys in the video part of your company at all, or are they kind of
There's a wide mix. So we have about 10 or 11 employees on staff. So
okay,
sometimes if you see them wearing like the blue shirts, like I'm wearing right now, or something to this, we have
sure.
a lot of uh, gear, but it'll always be like blue with always be serving or some
Sure.
sort of messaging like that on there. Those usually are on staff people. If
Hmm.
they're in plumbing uniforms, a lot of times they are actually working with a plumbing company that's in our program, and we've just for the day. In fact, that dramatic plumber, they're actually installing both my tanklesses that day. We just took that moment to grab some footage. So they're installing that in a water treatment system. So, um, yeah, that's how that one
Did
went
you have
down.
to coach them on line delivery at all or anything like that, or was it just kind of
No, so we are, you know how much preparation we put into this podcast, right?
sure?
You talked to Brittany and said, "Hey, what time?" You worked it
Yeah,
all out. I had zero conversation with. I shut up 2 minutes before the cameras came on. I said, "So what are we talking about?"
yeah,
That's usually how we roll. So we're pretty
gotcha.
unscripted. It's just whatever comes out comes out.
Yeah,
We got a great editing team. They do a good job of. There's a lot more content being made than what's being shown,
mm,
obviously, and
mm-hmm.
so they just do a really good job of piecing those together. We did some with Roto Rooter, a series with Roto Rooter, Cornwall Plumbing and a few others. Yeah, they're hilarious. We stopped. We're bringing those back. So we just
Okay.
hired. Yeah, we needed a. That's a long story, but we're bringing those back. They're coming back here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a quick little training exercise for you. I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Belfort,
The wolf.
the Wolf.
Yeah.
Can you sell me this pen?
Here we go. So so uh the thing about this is, can you sell me the pin? We talk about this all the time in our sales process. So we use my last name as a sales process.
Sure.
Back when I had to create this whole thing, I had to basically come up with something, right?
Yeah.
And so the first training I ever came up was the 5-day boot camp. Well, I wrote down that I wasn't trying to come up with a number of things, but I wrote down 9 things that I felt like I did in a home in the order I did them
Mm-hmm.
to accomplish getting a sale. Like what was that? If sales isn't about getting people to buy, what was I doing?
Okay.
What was actually happening in there?
Okay.
And then after looking at that, that's a lot for people to remember because it's, put people at ease and all these things. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna use my name.
Okay.
And we came up with fears, review, examine, suggest, help. And that's the 5 stages of a sell. So
What
it's less
was that
about
again?
scripting. Fears, people are in fear mode when they first go to buy something.
Okay.
Am I going to get ripped off? All these different things, right?
Sure.
In plumbing, for example, it's what's my problem? What's broke? What's
Yeah.
going on here with my plumbing? Who's going to fix it? Like what company, what kind of a human is going to come in my home around my wife and kids when I'm not, it might be at work. But this idea of what kind of pricing are they going to try to rip me off? Who? And then the last one is how long is this going to disrupt my life? So those are the 3 fears we find in plumbing. But at the end of the day, most people are in fear mode when they're forced to buy something or in that situation, going
Sure.
to the mechanic, going to the dentist. The
Yeah.
fears are different, but the reality is they're in fear mode. Second one is review. And that's where this pin comes in.
Okay.
It's impossible for me to tell you what you need if I don't know if I don't understand the situation.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different kinds of pens. There's a lot of different uses for pens. Quite
There's
honestly,
also pencils and crayons.
there's also computers. You may not even need a pen.
Yeah.
So before I can go tell you all the reasons why you should buy this pen, I should probably understand what you would even do with it or why you would even want it.
Yeah.
And if it would even make sense for you. Because the last thing I want to do is convince you to buy something. I don't want to be the old me. So the thing that we always tell the plumbers is like, look, you got to get good at two things:
Mm-hmm.
building relationships,
Mhm.
commonalities, and the second one is asking questions. And that's really what should happen right here when you say sell me this pen. Is I should start asking you a series of questions
Sure.
to understand, like, all right, what would you use it for? That would be my first question. What would you use a pen for?
Write a check.
Right? Do you write a lot of checks?
No.
Okay. What other kind of things do you write with?
A journal.
A journal. Do you like to journal?
I do.
Do you keep up with journals?
I do.
You a fairly organized individual?
I would say above average.
Let me ask you this: would you prefer to write a journal or talk or tell a journal? Like, would you if you had like some magical way to, instead of writing with this pen, you
Mhm.
could just tell this pen what you wanted to write, and then it would store it for you? What would be more appealing for you?
No, for me to write it because I feel a lot more of a connection through writing my own words.
Very nice.
on
Now,
it.
let me ask you this question:
Okay.
Do you wear sunglasses? I know this is unrelated, but do you wear sunglasses?
No. If I do, it's the weird like dad clip-ons that go over my glasses.
Those. How long have you had those glasses?
These enough that I've had to super glue them to keep
Oh,
them.
so
Yeah.
you keep up with things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if it is broke, then if it's something you can fix, then go ahead and fix it yourself.
Very nice. Let me ask you just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
When you write, you ever wrote something and you kind of get that like sharp feel when you write it, or sometimes it's that smooth, like you're on the ocean feel?
Yeah.
Which one of those do you like?
I like the smooth.
You like that smooth?
I like the smooth.
I'll tell you what, this is a fine point pen, and I think it would meet the bill. For now, if we don't have any other options here, this will at least get you by. You could start writing in your journal, but I would recommend at some point in the road, maybe thinking about upgrading this or trading it in or something like that, because it will do what you're asking to do right now. It's even got a nice little clip. Sounds like you keep up with things. So you'd be able to clip it onto your belt or something like that, so you don't have to worry about losing it. But I don't know that long term you're going to like the feel of it. So if you can, I would recommend upgrading to like a ballpoint pen. Those are really nice because it's going to be more smooth and whatnot. But since you're someone that really keeps up with things, I would, if you don't mind, could I make a third recommendation? We've got a custom pen that you might like. We could put your name or a logo or a message or kind of like a mantra or
Mhm.
something like that on there for you. And since you don't ever lose your pen, these pens last for a long time. They even come with a warranty,
Mhm.
and we can make it custom to your writing style. So we can make it extra smooth, or we can make it kind of medium smooth, or whatever you think.
Mhm.
Out of those three options there, which one makes the most sense for you in your situation?
Probably have to say either the custom or the ballpoint.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, let me do this. If you're not in a hurry,
Mhm.
we can get the other one started, but it's going to take a couple weeks to get the custom one done for you. Or we could get you this now if you need something to get you by, and then maybe we can work something out for you later. We'll kind of stop this exercise. But do
Yeah.
you see, if I just shoot from the hip,
Yeah.
I'm basically closing my eyes and aiming at a target that I don't know exists. I don't know what. There's a million reasons why you might buy this pen, but
Sure.
not all 1 million reasons are valuable to you. And I got to figure out what those are. And so that's the whole point of the exercise. Ask questions, figure out what's the deal here. Why are you even buying a pen?
Yeah.
At one point in the exercise, I thought you might, if all you had was that what was it? You said checks,
Yeah.
and you write a lot of those. You said no. I'm like, all right, you may not have a pen, bro, but I would have probably came up with maybe a tablet. And if I'm a good
Uh-huh.
business owner, I'm gonna have that line of product, that what they call a value ladder. I'm gonna have the cheap pen, the decent pen, the expensive pen, then maybe the future pen that's not even a pen, it's a
Yeah.
voice recording system or something like that.
Gotcha.
Give me that back.
Yeah. All right.
It's
You just sold me a pen.
I just so your own
Yeah,
pen.
right back to me.
Now I got to go figure out how to make this custom pen. That's the problem I'm in right now. Supply and demand. The
Yeah.
demand's higher than the supply.
Yeah. Um, so kind of again, like what was really the inspiration behind the plumbing sales coach? Because you were kind of saying like, again, you like to help people, but what really kind of stuck out to you? You were like, I'm going to coach people how to that already know how they want to make a sale, but I'm just going to coach them how they can close on that sale.
No, that's not what we did. So
Okay.
just back up to that pen really quick.
Sure.
Uh, back to the answers that you gave. You kind of hold on to things for a while.
Sure.
Things, if they last, you'll benefit from that. If they last, I will not. I have 8 pair of Oakleys.
Okay.
I probably know where 3 are.
Okay. Yeah.
They all are gonna last longer than my relationship with them. So it wouldn't make sense for me to go get a custom pen with my name on it because tomorrow I'll be looking for it.
Mm,
But for you, it sounds like that fit the bill, right? So I would
mhm.
hate to sell you this pen because long term, there might be a better, more expensive, but better return on investment product for you.
Okay.
In plumbing, this happens all the time. It's almost like a human body going to the doctor. We go in for symptoms, but we don't realize the root cause. That's what happens in plumbing. And it's 99 out of 100 times the home has a bigger problem. And here's the bigger issue with all this. When I go out as a plumber to a home and I see a $250 repair, if we don't catch that early, it's going to cause $5,000 or $10,000 of damage, unrelated to plumbing, but to restoration.
Mm,
So we see $250 little shutoffs that we would replace for a couple $100. We see them leak and cause $5,000 or $10,000 of cabinet damage or flooring damage or
mhm.
wall damage. And you see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so it's like, man, it's such an important thing. Well, when I would go into homes, I saw there was two types of. I'm not saying all service plumbers are this way, but there's two types of service
Sure.
plumbers. A service plumber being the plumbing company that responds to residential emergency calls. So the customer has a leak, has a problem, they call a plumbing company, that plumbing sends a plumber out. That's a residential service call.
Hmm.
We have two types in the industry, and I wanted to change the industry back, going all the way back to me being a customer, having a problem, not liking the experience, wanting to make an impact. They were either going in and fixing the bare minimum, so they got one shutoff. The reason why the shutoff failed is because it's older than dirt. They've got 11 more shutoffs in the home that
There's
are
corrosion and
they're
iron
old as dirt
bacteria.
too.
Yeah.
The customer doesn't want to spend money on those unnecessarily, but I
Yeah.
know as a plumber that if I sell you one shutoff for $250,
Hmm.
if I do all 12 shutoffs one at a time, one this month, one next month, you're going to spend 250, 250, 250. That's about $3,000. But if I do 12 shutoffs all at once, it's really about an $1,100 job. So there's $1,900 of real money the customer could save just because we offered it to them. So that was the first thing I didn't like. They would basically put blinders on. And in sales, you need to be good at diagnosing, and they wouldn't diagnose. In plumbing, you got to be good at diagnosing because that's a trade term. But
Yeah.
in sales, diagnosing is also a term. Meaning, if I go to you and try to sell you furniture or that pen, I need to diagnose your situation. I need to ask questions to understand it. If you're
Gotcha.
buying furniture from me, I need to know what room, who's going to be sitting on it. Is this for the guest bathroom? Is this for the main bathroom? Is this for the kids' bathroom?
Okay.
All those things may matter for how I'm going to lead you to that store and show you solutions to your perceived problems.
Right.
So, in the same way, diagnosing, and I just felt like they weren't doing that. They were letting the customer diagnose something they don't know how to diagnose. And so they would just charge them basically convenience store prices, 300 or $3.50 for a Red Bull, and
Mhm.
not giving the opportunity to buy Costco type prices where they could buy 12 shutoffs at a discounted rate because they're doing it all at once. So that was the first plumber. The second plumber that I saw was going in there and telling them they need a new sewer line when they didn't even have a problem with their sewer. Or everything's like, oh, your toilet's running? Well, let's get you a tankless. And it's like, okay, chill out. We're not hitting grand slams on every call. So there's a middle ground here. Every home is different. And if we diagnose the home as if it was the patient, which is what we teach,
hmm
then it makes it a lot more fair in the home for the customer to buy more because it's actually related back. And that's what we figured out. So the first 3 years, we figured out how to diagnose better, build relationships better, and value stack. It was all sales driven for not sales driven in the sense of like pushing, but it was all focused on how I could generate more revenue for them,
hmm
get them sellable, and then they sold.
Gotcha.
The second time around, the owner was an absentee owner, so I ran it and I was dealing with all the problems. And this is where we came up with our unique process. And so it kind of fits the fine dining style. We in fact we even say that we turn plumbing companies from fast food to fine dining because we're showing them how to, instead of just ripping through calls and doing the least, giving people the worst kind of food for the most amount of money, we're giving people the best kind of food for more money, but dollar per dollar, they're getting more money back on their investment.
It's more about the quality.
Quality, and it honestly, even in, think about it, not only the quality but even the quantity, it's somehow magical. And that's what I found, Casey, is that if you put others first, if you can find a way to serve people,
Yeah.
it somehow magically works itself out. um the If you focus on getting the sale, you typically don't. If you focus on solving the problem, the sale becomes bigger because
Mm.
the everyone's guard is down. Everyone's more open.
Sure.
If another way of saying is, and this is important because when I teach these, that we teach the whole plumbing company from the CSR to the technician to the owner, process to process, even time off policies, everything,
Yeah.
because we're just showing them how we did what we did, how we built what we built.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it all stems off this idea of service. And if the owner doesn't win, meaning the company, if
Yeah.
the customer doesn't win,
Uh-huh.
and if the employee doesn't win, all three have to win,
Yeah.
then it's not really service.
Gotcha.
And so that's what we're trying to show them. And sales is a piece of that. The part where people have to buy stuff from them is just a
hmm
piece of that.
Gotcha. So kind of run through the process for me. And again, we can either do this as an exercise. I mean, we kind of did with the whole pen thing, but like, what are you doing whenever you go into someone's house with a problem?
I mean, we did do it on this whole podcast. So
Yeah.
if you genuinely walked into my store after, I don't know, 10 years of not seeing you or however long it was. And this kind of happened at the miniature golf place where we reconnected.
hmm
We saw each other. I was like, Casey? And you're
Yeah.
like, actually, I read your name to make sure it was you off that sheet. I was like, that is him. Go get him.
Yeah, go
And I
get
was like,
'em.
Casey. And you're like, what's up? So we talked. But it would be like this. You come in, I sell pens. I've got this. I mean, I'm killing it in life now. It's 10 years later. I've got this amazing pen store. Everyone knows it. Like
Sure.
the pens of it's the pen store in town, right? Like
Pen Mecca.
everyone's
Yeah.
going there.
Yeah.
And you roll back into town, you're from the big city. It's like the Hallmark movie. You're from the big city, you come back.
Okay.
So no, you come in there, I would be like, Casey? And
Mm.
you'd be like, Chris Fresh?
Yeah.
I'm like, what's up? Get out of here, dude. How are you doing? How's your mom? How's your dad? How's
Yeah.
your brother? And that would be very normal and natural, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what it would look like for me and you, because every scenario is different. And since I do have a history with you, I would reconnect the relationship.
hmm
And then I would say, what brings you in?
Mm.
And so I'm thinking about getting a pen. I'm like, for what? What would you use it for? And then everything we just saw a minute ago. If I don't know you, then I use a little method called ICE, identify, connect, engage. All I'm looking for,
Identify, connect, engage.
yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of tension when you meet someone for the first time, in sales especially. So if I'm a plumber and I'm going to your home,
Yeah.
you open the door and be like, oh, you with the plumbing company? Come in. That's not very fun. It doesn't feel very happy.
Yeah.
It's not happy times in here. Like, yeah, he's ready to hang out with me. So there's heat. So I say put some ice on it. Just let's cool it off a little bit. So
Yeah.
that's one way to remember it.
So you immediately, whenever you walk through somebody's door, you're immediately trying to break
Break the
the
ice.
I guess break the ice, yeah, but you're also trying to really kind of show that, hey, I'm not a robot. I am a human being and I like to have
Yeah. In fact,
conversation.
if you look at the word service, it's serve ice.
Okay. All
So,
right.
and we have that on a shirt with it. It is. And it's like, and it's, we didn't realize that until like 4 years later after we came up with ice. We're like, hey, that works. That fits.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff's been luck, to be honest.
Yeah.
But ice, it's just something that we use to teach the guys and the gals out in the field and the trades to remember
Hmm.
that they got to do it. But it is breaking the ice. But it's identify, connect, engage. And all we do is tell them, hey, look, identify something you have in common with them. If you really geek out over really nicely taking care of lawns and they have a really nicely taken care of lawn,
Hmm.
then compliment them. If
Look at those lines out there, dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, how do you do that? Like that would be my question.
You got a zero turn?
I
Yeah.
I grew up in California. I was born in Southern California. Lived out there until I was like 8. Then we moved up to Northern California in the sticks. And I remember we had this like massive oak tree. We had a lot of trees, but this one tree was just over the top massive. And so every time I see an over the top massive oak tree in someone's yard, I can't. I'm not. There's no way that's not coming up.
Yeah.
Like there's no way they're like, don't talk. I'm like, right, I won't. Right after we don't talk about this, I gotta talk about this oak tree real quick. So I'm like, dude, that's a nice tree. And then they go, yeah. And I go, "Man, growing up, I had one. And they go, yeah. I go. And then now being in plumbing, if I find out they lived in it for a while, but is that tree giving you problems with your sewer line? Because I know that's part of the reality. And so, but I'll identify
Yeah.
something with them, and then I usually connect it to a memory. Like I said, I had a tree growing up.
Mhm.
Another one is I remember being out in Texas. I go to Houston, Texas, to a couple plumbing shops, do some shop visits, run some calls. Man, they love them some Texas Longhorns out there. They got the Longhorns flags flying in the front of their house.
Yeah.
So I'd knock on the door. They'd open. I'd say, "Hey, I'm Chris with Epic Plumbing." I say, "Hey, Chris, how you doing?" I say, "You Steve?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm Steve." I'm like, "Oh, you a Longhorns fan?" "Oh, go Horns!" That's what they always want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, Vince Young's knee touched the ground, right?" Because back in 2005 or 10 or something, and in the college national championship game,
Yeah.
there was a questionable call. Then they look at me, they tilt their head, they go like, "Are you a USC fan?" And I go, "I am." And they go, "Oh boy." I go, "Don't worry, I'll take care of you. I just got to charge you double." And
Yeah.
it's just sometimes it goes that way, sometimes it don't.
Mhm.
Sometimes they go, "Oh, I don't keep up with it. My
Mhm.
son went there," and then they're all stern about it or whatever. Okay, all right. I took my shot. I tried it, but I'll still be doing that throughout the home. If I see stuff and it's not forced, it's very, very real. If I mean, shoot, I can identify, connect, engage on someone even just off the plumbing they have. Like I might have something similar in my home.
Yeah.
So it's just a way to kind of break that ice and get people to open up. And
Have you ever come across anybody where their energy was just they're not here for it. They're not here for you.
the customer,
Yeah, they just
oh,
they don't care to have a conversation with you.
100%.
They're just like, yeah, just make me a sale and get out of my house.
I think that's one of the problems I have with a lot of sales trainers is they put off this illusion that they can teach you how to get a yes every time. And that's just the wrong. First of all, it's the wrong focus. It's an illusion. It's not real.
Yeah, because you're not
It's
gonna get a yes every time.
no, because people. First of all, people aren't that stupid. Like it's just this. It's a low view of the customer that you could actually manipulate and just get them to just do whatever. You're just so good. You're so awesome with words
Yeah.
that you could just wield. You can wield them in a way. He's like, ooh, Doctor Strange with your words or something. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So no, but I believe that if I do it right, relationship.
Yeah.
If I build a relationship, if I diagnose and then I value stack, if I give them options, 3 options, if I give them options,
Yeah.
like I gave you with the pen, that speak into what I learned when I diagnosed and built a relationship, I'm going to get you as far as anyone else would have. Wherever that is. Maybe you didn't buy nothing, but you're thinking about now buying the custom pen. Maybe you bought the small pen, but you're now thinking about the custom pen. Maybe you bought the small pen. You didn't buy anything extra, but you didn't complain about the price, and you would have with someone else because they didn't give you options and they just threw this. And so I believe that the process takes people as far as they'll go.
Okay.
And wherever that is,
Yeah.
I'm happy with that because if you're in plumbing,
Yeah.
85% of people are going to pay you to fix their problem because they don't want the water to keep leaking. It's just that simple.
Right.
And
Right.
if people are walking in your store and buying a pen, there's some percentage of people that are going to buy the pen if they're taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the highest percentage you're going to get. And so I just really, because the other side of that coin is you can even get a few more people to buy. I know someone watching this might go, "That's not true. You can get more people to buy." Oh, absolutely. At what cost?
Mm.
Your reputation, buyer's remorse, Do they not come back and complain because they're non-confrontational like most people, but they tell 20 people about the bad experience they had,
Yeah.
and you're not around for those conversations, so you don't realize that you're being bashed.
Right.
And that's what I've learned over the years is getting people to do something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
That's just a moment
Yeah.
in a much bigger season,
Yeah.
and there's a much bigger story coming in that.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, man, my mind's racing because I'm just thinking of so many things right now. Um,
How many things we bought,
yeah.
man. I've also thought that it's better to let people talk themselves into stuff because they're
Yeah.
better at it. We believe that the homeowner is the best salesman in the home to themselves than anyone. So
Yeah.
why just give them the information you have and they'll come to the same conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
They know their bank account.
Yeah.
Maybe make it worth their while to do more.
Sure.
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 But yeah, but they'll make their own decisions.
Well, then, so let me ask you this then, because this is like the big thing that like I've learned ever since I've like been working. Um, and I agree with it. Sometimes I agree with it, not all the time. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it from a sales standpoint. The customer is always right. Is that true?
Well, I think the customer's perception is always right.
Okay.
No. I guess to me the bigger question is what's the motive and goal? Is am I here to serve someone or to be right or to be accurate or to correct them?
Hmm.
If someone tells me that, look, I'll put it this way. There's something that we teach with overcoming objections. I think this is what we're really kind of getting into.
Okay.
And um I I always say in overcoming objections we have another acronym called ART, the art of overcoming objections, ART.
Hmm.
So the first word's agree and the second word's request, the last word's transition. And it's similar to what we talked about before about asking questions because that's
Okay.
questions are always going to be my answer.
Yeah.
But first is if you go, hey, that's too expensive. Okay, okay, time out. What are we comparing that to?
Hmm.
Now, I would say that you are wrong because you don't know our pricing model, our margins. We have to charge, and that's okay. You don't probably have some information, so I'm not mad at you for that. But you would be wrong. But I would agree that it's expensive to you. And I
Hmm.
would agree that a value of yours has been rubbed because you feel like you're being taken advantage of
Sure.
or ripped off or something's going on there to cause you to speak out in that way to say
Sure.
that's too expensive or that's a rip off or whatever the person might say.
Right.
So I would agree that everyone's got a value and I would agree that that value is important to them. And I would agree that whatever they're perceiving to be going on right now is rubbing against that value. That I can agree with. But then I
Okay.
would request more information about that. I would say, well, okay, let me ask, why do you think it's more? What were you expecting? In fact, we have this in plumbing a lot of times with water heaters.
Mm.
You call a plumber up for a water heater, it's going to be over $2,000, 2,200 to 2,700 bucks for a water heater.
Water heaters are expensive.
And you
Okay.
can go to Lowe's and Home Depot and get one for $500 to $800. So where's why? Why is it so expensive? Well, first of all, they're not going to Home Depot and Lowe's, and if they are, that's not a good plumber. But they're not going to Home Depot and Lowe's to get the water heater.
Yeah.
They're going to a supply shop where it's commercial grade for residential application. The
Yeah.
warranties through the plumbing company, yada yada yada. All these
Yeah.
reasons why it should be more expensive.
Yeah.
But on the surface, it's $2,500 and Lowe's is $700. And so we see that in the home. How much is your water heater? It's $2,700. Oh well, I can get one at Lowe's for, and then ensues this objection.
Yeah.
So we see this price objection all the time. So I would say, well, let me ask you this: what were you expecting? And they would say, well, I see one at Lowe's for $800. I said, oh, okay, that makes sense. Do you mind me asking which one it was?
Hmm.
And you see what I'm doing now? I'm requesting more information about this objection. Why do you think that it should only be $800? Where'd you get that information from? Is it an apples to apples comparison?
Hmm.
What are the differences? And then I can transition, which is the last one, into the reasons why. But I know what I'm aiming at now.
Right.
So
So
now,
then, so then, how do you get to the point of telling the customer in such a way that their preconceived notion, because they, like I said, they always want to assume that they're right about something, and they don't want to be told no. Most people don't want to be told no. So how do you get to a point where it's you tell them you're wrong, I'm right?
no, they're not wrong.
Okay.
That's the thing. They're right. There is a cheaper water heater,
All
but
right.
there's a reason for it.
Okay.
It's not about right and wrong. And I think that's the big mistake that most salespeople make is they turn it into a right or wrong conversation.
Okay.
So now the customer's always right is becomes this anecdotal sales training speech that or reads customer service speech that gets given because and then
Yeah.
and then customers grab that and misuse it customer's always right, and then they berate people with that,
Yeah.
and you get all this back and forth. But at the end of the day, it's the wrong conversation. No one's right, no one's wrong.
So then let me amend
It's
it
just a different
to
perspective.
how do you then change that perspective
Let
then
me ask you
to
this: Are Apple computers expensive?
yes.
Yeah, sure they are. Are they too expensive?
Wouldn't know about too expensive, but for the quality that they are, I would say so,
Now
personally.
I've bought a few. We do all Apple in our offices. We Apple Arrow. I've actually just switched back to the G Shock for this, but
Right.
normally wearing my Apple Watch,
Yeah.
Apple everything. We have Apple MacBooks for all the employees.
Hmm.
At home, I've got two gaming computers, one for my son, one for me, that we play a game on,
Yeah.
and we have more problems with those, and they're almost as expensive as the. So I would say a MacBook's cheap.
Hmm.
But how are we coming to different conclusions? Is it the price compared to other people's prices? Is it the value we get out of it? Like for me, being able to shut it and open it and it's already back on, that's got a value.
Hmm.
I would say that's a cheap feature. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Another would be a great example of I go to Disney World. We go to Disney World. I've got season passes. We've got 8 kids. It's crazy. People say, "How do you guys do that?" We say, "How do you not do that?" We It's cheap to us because what we're getting for the money, not because the bill is cheap,
Hmm.
but because of what we're getting for the money.
So if something is like okay, so say like the new PS5 or something like that, it's like $500. So you're looking at it and instead of being like, wow, like that's a lot of money, you're looking at it as like, okay, how can I get $500 worth out of having a PS5?
Yeah, and another great example is, like I said, it all comes down to what we value. Money is just one resource. Time is another resource. There's so many resources. So
Hmm.
money is just one resource. And in that scenario, I already know how this works with the PS5. It's not just $500.
Hmm.
It's also getting up at midnight and waiting in line until 5 a.m. to for the release.
Yeah.
My kids, I'll be like, let's wait a month. And they go, well, then there'll be $800. I'll be like, I'd rather do that than stand in line for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Where they're like, well, I'd rather stand in line for 5 hours and have it for the 2 weeks before having to wait for. Everyone's just got a different value set. Everyone's willing to exchange something different to receive something different.
Hmm.
And that's why some people will spend $1 million on a Pokemon card, and other people wouldn't even notice that the Pokemon card was on the ground. We just all have different value sets. And
Yeah.
so this perception of who's right and who's wrong really is a value set conversation, not a factual conversation. Value sets are opinion. They're perception.
Yeah.
We could get political right now. We could get into some heavy conversations to really. We're not going to, but to dive that. But
Right.
just to kind of unfluff this a little bit for the
Yeah.
audience, like the whole wars are started over value set,
Yeah.
perceptions, and misunderstandings, and whatever you want to fill in the blank there.
Sure.
So absolutely, it's going to happen in sales. So if it's a right or wrong thing,
Yeah.
it's an unwinnable conversation. It just becomes a convincing conversation, and some people are more easily swayed. So if you're kind of a bull with your brain in your mouth, you're
Yeah.
going to get more people to buy stuff. And if you're not, you're not. And but that's just the wrong way to go. The whole premise of that is wrong.
Gotcha.
So I know that was a mouthful
Yeah, a
for
little bit, a little bit.
is the customer always right? But it's the wrong premise.
Yeah. So then your approach is that ART then.
Correct, because I
Yeah.
want to I want to understand deeper, why are you having this difference of opinion with me, or why are we having this different perspective?
Hmm.
And then we can uncover that. And to be honest, I want to say objective as a salesperson because I'm not supposed to be convincing them. I'm supposed to be helping them,
Hmm.
advising, consulting. So
Yeah.
in that case, I want to say objective. What if it is too expensive for you? What if you're like, oh, I'll lose this pen in a day? Well, then the custom pen is too expensive for you.
Yeah. Um, so then kind of just sticking with the mojo of the show here, I wanna ask you, um, changing people's perceptions. So, I mean, you've already kind of done a good job, I think, of changing the perception for salesperson to salesperson, hopefully, or what sales should be about. But how would you change the perception of a salesperson to the general audience today? Because I always find that whenever you go into someone's house, they already have this preconceived notion, you're sleazy, you just want my money, and sort of, they're intimidated, or maybe not intimidated, maybe just kind of fearful, or they're just kind of hesitant because they don't know you. They don't know if they can trust you. So how would you be able to change that perception today?
Man, well, that's a great question because right now in my mind, I'm almost wondering if I if I even feel like that's true to do and worth doing, meaning maybe the perception of the salesperson isn't wrong. And maybe the work to be done is from the other side where we've been spending most of our conversation because
Hmm.
I think, in anything in life, if you have 100 messengers saying one thing and one messenger saying another thing, it takes a while for that message to get out. And for so many years, it's been disproportionate. And I think it's disproportionate in the world. We can go back to that spiritual conversation. For those reasons, it's disproportionate. But it's disproportionate in the sense that if you go back in the day, you had people
Like you
like,
think more bad than good,
yeah,
kind of. Okay.
yeah. And I think you got for every Zig Ziglar or Jim Rohn or John Maxwell or Darren Hardy, the guys that were back in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s preaching this relationship style based sales. I'm not the first person.
Sure.
I've got my unique view on it, but
Hmm.
they've been the mentors of my past. For every one of those, you got 20 out there telling people to close and slam and get people and rip people off. And there's so many behind the door closed salesmen that we're not even seeing.
Hmm.
Companies bring in and they're not online, they're not famous, but they're just back there doing, and they're all preaching the same message. They're just ripping the next guy off and reworking their material. And it's so crazy that I mean, that's their whole focus is close, 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 close. So undoing that mindset's going to take a while. I would say for the consumer,
Hmm.
be cautious, be cautious. A
So you
couple
don't have anything wrong with anybody looking at you, Chris Fresh, and coming into their house and being like, I don't know if I
Now
like you.
we tell everyone in sales, hey, again, we've been working with I've been working with plumbers for the last decade now, or actually more than that, online decade, maybe 15, 20 years.
Sure.
But for forever long, I've been telling them, hey, whatever they're giving you at the front door, just don't take it personal. They didn't expect to have, they didn't know they were going to miss their doctor's appointment today. They didn't know they're going to have to take off work today. They didn't know their plumbing was going to fail. On top of that, the last HVAC guy, even though they're plumbing, the last HVAC guy ripped them off. The pest control guy keeps knocking on the door, bugging them. You're in a box. They threw you in a box
Yeah.
with all the other salesmen or all the other home
Yeah.
tradesmen
Or
or
hey, I
whatever.
saw you have hail damage on your roof.
Yep,
Yeah.
just yep,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
And they're just shoving them, and you're in that box. And so your job is to break the ice, build a relationship, show
Yeah.
them that you're not just a plumber. You
Yeah.
you live in that community. Your kids go to school in that community. You shop at the same stores as them. You go to the same events as them. You've endured the same weather storms as them. And that makes you human. And then now you
Hmm.
can get out of that box and they can open up. And so that consumer, I would say, hey, get to know these people. Do they get to know them? Find out
Yeah.
what, ask them questions, turn the table on them. Don't be afraid of the relationship. That's what I would tell the consumer. You don't have to trust us on our suggestions. We should earn that. You don't have to trust us on our pricing. We should earn that. But at least build a relationship with us. You can't lose there. Both sides win if you build a relationship because you'll flush out the fake ones. We all got that spidey sense. We can tell when someone's,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how you want to say
Somebody's
that.
trying to
Yeah,
rip you
full of
off.
crap.
Yeah.
But I mean, but just get to know these. That's what I would say. That's the
Yeah.
perception I would say is no, they shouldn't come in more trustworthy and more full of grace and mercy. Absolutely have your guard up if the person's got a professional and financial interest in you making that purchase.
Yeah.
But get be more willing to build a relationship. You don't got to give up your social. You don't got to tell them your kid's birthday and names and where they go to school and what their schedule is. But you could at
Here's my
least,
daughter's
yeah, you could
granddaughter's birthday.
at
Yeah.
least say my kid plays soccer too or something. Get a feel for. You might know some of these people. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
You like salt, right? Like just a bunch of weird, awkward questions.
Yeah, right. You like so what kind of salt you guys use when it ices up on the driveway? Like
Yeah.
not that. All right, not that. But let's have a real.
Yeah.
But and I even tell the plumbers that, like, look, not everyone's the same. We got some plumbers in the industry, they'll make a friend at the gas station. Other plumbers, they don't talk to no one. Do they get their wives dragged to them events, or they drag or their
Yeah.
husbands drag them to events, or whatever the deal is. It's everyone's different,
Yeah.
but I mean, we all know how to build relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you because I know this happens to me all the time. So uh working in trades, like it's always for me, like it's like owning a pickup truck. You don't really want everybody to know that you own a pickup truck. And so anytime that anybody knows I work in HVAC, they're like, "Oh, so you work in HVAC, right?" I always know what's coming next. I was like, Yeah,
So
what's up? Oh, my AC isn't working. Like, yeah.
I would say there are certain ecosystems of people that um when they find out I'm a Christian, they say, all right, I know what's about to happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just the world, right? So
Right,
like
yeah, yeah.
if for example, if I'm in a church and I say I'm a Christian, that's gonna be accepted. If I go to another environment, maybe that's not so excited about Christianity, it's probably not going to be accepted.
More than likely, yeah.
So the reason why I say that is because I feel more like a pastor in this scenario. I've been the plumbing sales coach all over the internet for so long.
Okay.
No one's shocked that I'm in plumbing anymore. I don't. By the time I meet them, they already know I'm in plumbing. So I'm
Mhm.
not having that experience where I'm like hiding that I'm in something. It's pretty. Everyone pretty much. I mean, I wear it
Yeah.
everywhere I go. It's all over my. We come into Top Golf and they're like, oh, it's. They all know. My staff goes up like everywhere. They know us all up there. So
Yeah,
we're like living in a fishbowl at this point. It's
yeah,
everyone can see us, and
yeah.
I have zero secret. I told my wife, I said, I feel like I have more privacy in a public bathroom than my own house, in my own bathroom. We have 8 kids. All my like 3 employees can either sharing my in my email, in my Facebook Messenger. There's nothing that I can do. 2 or 3 people have my Apple ID. I mean, I have zero privacy. If
Yeah.
you text me, they saw it. Like I have no privacy. There's no. So I'm just kind of, I don't. So it's a little bit lost on me, that question of
Okay.
what people think. I'm like, I don't know. They've already made that decision way before I come around.
Yeah. All right, so I guess now kind of moving back to the spiritual side of things, um, is there a part of you that oh no, have you ever been in a house at times where you kind of think, man, I could have maybe put the salesman aside and maybe been a little bit more spiritual with this person? Like, have you ever felt called to have like a spiritual conversation with people
Yeah,
before? Or
yeah. I mean, the way you asked that question, I felt like it was two. So the first one being if I've ever felt like I needed to put the salesman aside, not so much because I don't feel like
okay,
just because of my past, I'm kind of my whole mission in life is to not be there. I'm
yeah,
wearing 2 wristbands that say always be serving. My chest says always be serving.
yeah,
All of our paraphernalia, our hats. I even have custom Nike shoes on that match the colors. So this is like who I am now. So there's
yeah,
there's no way that would be happening in a home. And quite honestly, like I said, I'm training company, so I've usually got someone there that's watching me.
mm-hmm,
Now, the second question, have I ever felt like I needed to have a conversation with someone?
yeah,
100%. And have I ever been viewed as a salesman on a job site? 100%. So I could think of one specifically that just happened earlier this year. I was in Houston on a job site with a company, and the company had replaced the lady's main water line. Her husband had died 3 months previous to this. She was an
mm,
elderly lady. I don't want to say she was old, but she was elderly. She was in her mid to late 70s, and she was very exasperated from the whole thing.
mm-hmm,
So they replaced the main water line, which is we're talking 3 or 4 thousand bucks, maybe even a little bit more. I don't know how much this one costs. And then she has an additional leak, so she doesn't trust the diagnosis from the same company. So she gets another company out there, and they repipe the whole house. So now she's replaced her main water line from the street to the house, and now now we're talking probably $13,000 to $18,000. And then guess what? A week later, she's got water in the yard again, and
mm-hmm,
she's feeling like everyone's just ripped her off.
mm,
I fly into town to do 2 days of training.
yeah,
Lucky me. And I get to girl out on this call. So I'm out in the yard, and what I realized was it was most likely her irrigation. All of her plumbing had failed because it was all old. When I
okay,
got there, the house had been replaced. The plumbing in the house had been replaced, and the line had been replaced, but the irrigation was still old. So what I wanted to do was dig down and cut in 2 isolation valves to shut the water off
sure.
to determine which line it was.
And
And
this is just a tad bit off topic, but whenever you guys do that, are you guys like using sonar
no, we
or
had to dig up the ground, cut the line, install a shut-off valve, shut it
okay.
off, then go back and check the meter to see if the water stops leaving the line. When
Okay.
I shut that line
Okay.
off and the meter stops, I know the leak's on that line. If it's on an
Okay.
irrigation line, we're actually out, and we say call irrigation.
Gotcha.
If it's on a plumbing line, then we would say, oh, that's us. The first time we were out
Okay.
there, it was on the plumbing line, so they
Yeah.
replaced that line. It was still on the plumbing on the inside, so then that got replaced,
Okay.
and it's still now on the irrigation, but we had to fix the first 2 to find the third, if that makes any
Gotcha.
sense,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
they kind of
Yeah.
work in series in different ways. So
Yeah.
either way, you're looking at this situation now where you've got this third problem and she's confused. She thinks it's related back to the first two. So I'm telling her we got to dig down. Well, that, like I just said, you got to dig down. That's just an hour or two of work. It's going to cost money.
Sure.
And before I can even get into that, and the whole scenario is obviously we're going to do it for free because, but she goes, what she say? She looked at me and she goes, you know what? You guys are just out here to take advantage of me. You're just like the rest of them. Do whatever you need to do. Charge me whatever you're going to charge me. I just need someone I can trust. She starts to cry. She kind of spins around. She's very, uh, she's wearing her emotions on her sleeve,
A little
and she's
distraught.
walking down the sidewalk up, then headed back up to the house. And I was just like, my whole goal in that moment was just to prove to her that we weren't like whatever she just accused us of being. So I spun around, I went up to the front doorstep and I said, look, the last thing I want you thinking is we're here to take care of you. Let's forget about that. I'll do all this for free. I'm not even worried about money. Tell me what's going on. And so she tells me the whole story. That's how I find out her husband just dies. I didn't know that at the time. So now I learned that her husband died 3 months ago. He promised that he wouldn't leave her with these problems. He passes away. Her real emotions start to come out. I start to realize her anger ain't with us. Her anger ain't with any. Her anger is with her ex husband, and not even that she's angry at him. She's angry at the situation. She doesn't know how to deal with it.
Sure.
So I said, okay, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna go. You go inside. I want you to take a moment. She let me pray with her right there.
Really?
Yep.
Did you offer to,
I
or
offered. I said,
really?
I'm gonna pray for you. She said, would you do it now? I said, yep. So then I offered to just, I asked permission to pray for her is actually how it went down on my own. Then she asked me if I would do it right then. So we did it right then. So then she goes inside. I go back out. Um, the dude that I'm
Wow.
with is watching all this, by the way, that works for
Wow.
the company.
Yeah.
He's a believer. So now the relationship between me and him are growing, right? So now he can trust
Yeah,
my
because he saw what
advice.
you. Yeah.
So
Wow.
now we come out, we dig down, we cut in the
Wow.
lines, we find out it's the irrigation, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
We go back inside, and I'm like, let's just kind of look around. And we found this one other issue with her venting on a thing. We had that taken care of for her. And at the end of the day, it was just like I wanted to prove her. Well, here was the cool thing. So now we're an hour later, maybe an hour and a half later. We're
Mm-hmm.
inside of her home now, and this is what she said. She said, "Last night I cried in bed praying that God would send someone in my life I could finally trust." She's like, "I think He sent you," which was such a contrast because at the beginning of the call, she was like, "Hey, you're just like the rest of them. You're gonna try and rip me off." And so those are the moments. We didn't even make any money on that call. We just did the work for free because we'd already did work for her, and clearly she was going through it. And it was like, what I mean,
Yeah.
so and it would have been probably 700-800 bucks worth of work. It wasn't going to change the life of the plumbing company,
Yeah.
but it was going to change her perception. And so that's what we did. So we got approval to just do it for free. We got
Yeah.
approval, did the work. I don't own the company, so I can't make that decision. But
Right.
I was advocating hard for it. Like, hey, can we just do this? I'll pay for it. Like, can we just get this done?
Yeah.
And I'm good friends. Anyways, the owners are good people.
Yeah.
We didn't have to convince them.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's one that sticks out to this day. Um, like how that was probably one of the most spiritual moments I've had on a job site.
Wow. Wow. That's powerful because I remember um so I went through something similar. One of my first jobs actually whenever I was working in HVAC was just like a quality inspection or something like that. And it was some little old lady um and she was selling her house and she was just making sure everything was all up and good with it. She had an inspector come out. Inspector said, "Well, there's all sorts of water damage
Mm.
in your attic, and it's gonna cause damage here and then damage here, and the HVAC system is it's completely just gone to crap and all this sort of stuff." And she's like worried about it, and she's 70 years old. She's not climbing up into the attic, so she definitely was just like, "I feel like I'm being ripped off." And that's why she called us to go out there do a quality inspection. And I remember whenever I went up into the attic, I had one of those like sort of high powered like handheld flashlights, and I'm just kind of like looking around. And as I'm looking around, like I'm not seeing like water damage or anything like that. Like just kind of like just some old wood after, years and years of being a house, essentially. And I'm kind of looking around like, okay, well, I'm not seeing any water damage. The unit's over here. I go over to it, and it's on some plywood on like the ceiling joists. I'm kind of really making sure I'm looking around the unit. There's no signs of water damage around the unit. There's no signs of water damage on the plywood. So then I kind of moved some of like that, like pink cotton candy insulation out of the way. And I'm looking actually like on the actual like drywall ceiling for like any sort of water damage or anything on the
Nothing.
joist. Nothing. Nothing. So either there was a small bit of water damage that occurred that day or anything. And I even was like looking up too. And I was just like, I don't see anything that could have caused this. There's no holes. Maybe there's like a very small leak or something, but I'm not seeing anything. There's no residue. There's no just evidence of any of this. And I remember whenever I went back down, I was taking photos and everything too. And when I went back down, uh, she was like just big eyes. Was just like,
What'd you find?
what'd you find? Like, is it okay? Like, and her voice was even kind of shaky a little bit. And I was just like, no, I didn't find anything in here of the photos I took. And just the tears that just started to come from her. And I got a big old hug too. And that was kind of different for me because I was always just kind of like, oh, like, you don't like, there's boundaries with customers. And so I was just like, well, okay, I'll give her a hug back because obviously this is an emotional moment for her. Um, but it was bittersweet. And I don't know if maybe you felt this way or have ever felt this way, but it was bittersweet for me. Because like while I felt good about the good that I did do for this little old lady that I could do at that time, I still was bitter about it because I was like, wow, like there's an asshole out there that really just tried to screw her over and take full advantage of this situation, and that pissed me off.
Well, that's how I feel about all the online coaches and gurus out there. Because I got drug on the internet.
Yeah.
I didn't get drug on the internet. I got drug onto the internet. I haven't been drug yet. I'm just waiting for my moment.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I got
Like
so
it was
I
a completely different kind of evil I've ever
and
seen.
that's what we see with this stuff, and they take advantage of business owners. Then they get business owners to take advantage of customers,
Yeah.
and it's a reciprocal effect. Yeah, I mean, I've been in a lot of scenarios in homes where they've been told or quoted something that they don't need or it's false. I
Yeah.
was just in one 2 days. Which I don't even know what week it is, but it couldn't have been that long ago. A week or two ago, I went in a home
Hmm.
here locally with a plumbing shop.
Okay.
And first time I've ran a local call in years, but that was interesting. But yeah, the guy was under the impression that his plumbing system was going to just kind of explode, not like in a fiery explosion, but the burst.
Like water
They,
pressure or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we
Okay.
took his water pressure, and it was 72 pounds, which is right where it's supposed to be. So it's like, what I mean, you can get it down to 55 or something, but
Sure. Was it
they
like a well system or
no,
something?
it was
Okay.
city, but it was an area that doesn't typically have high water pressure. Just
Ah,
someone told them. They just said
okay.
they just said they had real high water pressure, and their lines are going to burst. And that was it. And then they
Okay.
tried to sell them a PRV and an expansion tank and a new water heater and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But you see this all the time. And like I said, it's either the guy that's going in there blindfolded and just fixing the bare minimum thing,
Hmm.
or it's the guy going in there and selling people a bunch of stuff they don't need. And there should be a mix. I will say this with I'd say this with sales in general,
Hmm.
but I would even say this in life. Think about knee surgeons and brain surgeons. If the bigger problem you solve, the more value you bring, the more money you make.
Yeah.
That's just gonna go. So if you call me because your toilet's running and it's making an annoying noise, that's not gonna have the same value. I'm not gonna make the same money as in a career if that's what I'm solving
Hmm.
versus finding an underlying issue that keeps your plumbing from failing on you and causing that $10,000 problem. So that's what I tell the plumbers all the time is like, look, have confidence that your trade's worth a lot of money because you solve big problems.
Hmm.
And then just trust the fact that plumbing is aging and stop ignoring the other things going on in the home and give the customer the choice.
Hmm.
And if people would stop being so greedy and trying to trip over dollars to pick up dollars,
Yeah.
they could see that sometimes they can meet the customer in the middle. If you go to a convenience store and buy a soda, it's going to be expensive. Chips, it's going to be expensive because they got to
Yeah.
have 1,000 different
Oh,
things there
dude,
for you.
this at a concert,
Oh, it's like $10.
like $10 or something,
And how?
dude.
What is it?
Yeah. I don't even know how to pronounce. I would. Sorry to all the Hawaiian people. Waiakea water.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that. But that's probably like $5 or $6 at the gas station.
It was 4.
And then it's probably 225 in a case at Costco, but you got to buy like
Yeah.
a small ocean's worth.
Yeah.
I used to, when I did stand-up comedy back in the day, I
Yeah.
did that. I used to say that. I'd be like, go to Costco and you got to get a keg of Gatorade and a barrel of ketchup. Yeah, they make you got to get the whole cow, like U-Haul
Yeah.
trucks out in the parking lot,
Yeah.
trying to people loading up. Like, I'm here for some. In fact, one lady asked me at a convenience store, so you want a bag? I was like, if I need a bag, I'm at the wrong store. Like, I shouldn't be buying that much stuff at a convenience store. What? It's so expensive. But that's how it works. And
Yeah.
plumbers live in this convenience store pricing mentality and home services.
Yeah.
The least amount of work for the most amount of money instead of giving people the choice of investing into their plumbing and
Mhm.
really maximizing that call and giving people great value and also making a lot more money in return.
Yeah.
Think that's the philosophy we got to get to.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, to wrap up, I'm going to ask you one more question here. What are you really kind of hoping for the future of the plumbing sales coach, and what are you really trying to hone in on here as we close 2025 heading into 26?
Yeah, well, like anything, we're in scale mode. So think of it like if I'm a plumber and I own a plumbing company, I'm probably a plumber day one. I'm
Mm-hmm.
taking the calls. I'm the business owner. I'm also out plumbing.
Yeah.
Well, my coaching career is the same thing. I was gaining clients and I was the one coaching, doing the one-on-one coaching. Now we have coaches on staff. Now we have, so this year is our transition. We just went through it right now, literally as we speak. I mean, within the last month, the transition finalized, and I'm no longer in the coaching program. So I do the one-on-many group coaching, but I don't do the one-on-one stuff. That's all done by a team.
Gotcha.
So we've transitioned me out of coaching. We're also in the middle of developing a marketing app. Um,
Okay.
I don't know when this will release, so I'm not going to get too much into that because it's in development, but it's pretty close to being done.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the future of the plumbing sales coach is
Okay.
that software. And so that's what we got going on. A lot of speaking events coming up.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing this year is getting me into more one-on many conversations
Mm-hmm.
and less one-on-one conversations.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Awesome. We'll go ahead and look into that camera right there and let people know where they can find you.
You can find us on Spotify if you want to listen to a podcast. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook as far as Reels goes and short form video. And another place that you can find us is on the internet just by typing in theplumbingsalescoach.com.
Awesome. Cool. Well, dude, I'm so glad that we could reconnect and we could kind of take a trip down memory lane and also just kind of um, just have this chat and hopefully somebody benefits from this and their perception is changed about sales and hopefully they're inspired to kind of change their methods a little bit because of what you've shared today. So yeah,
Love it.
yeah, it's been good, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. If you like today's episode, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm your host, Thomas Casey Zellers, and I'll see you in the next one.